the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways. And on we'll go.
In this lesson, we're going to get down to the crux of the matter in Adobe Photoshop. Photoshop is resolution dependent. Every image in Photoshop is made up of little tiny pixels, and those little tiny pixels eventually get so small that we can't resolve them anymore, and our mind takes over, and color memory takes over, and we see a photograph. Most of you have done what I'm about to do. If I come over here and pick up the zoom tool, and get over here on this nice flower and begin zooming in, eventually we get to see the components that make it up, the little tiny pixels, and there they are. Of course, if we take it back down in size, it looks beautiful. The term resolution was co-opted from another time. Resolution is not about little tiny pixels. It's the ability to resolve. And like I said, eventually the image gets so small we can't resolve the bricks, and our brain takes over and sees a flower. That's how it works. Now, there is another program that I really do like that's in the family of Adobe, and it's called Adobe Illustrator. Let me show you something. Here's basically the same flower in Adobe Illustrator. Now, in Adobe Illustrator, this is a vector. It was drawn as vector. If I come over here and pick up my zoom tool and begin zooming in on this bad boy, nothing happens except it just gets bigger. Now, if we go into view mode and change to outline, again, we're in Adobe Illustrator, you can see the image. Now, it actually isn't as complicated as it looks. This was done using a feature called gradient mesh, and it made that flower. The one I did in Photoshop, actually, I just kind of rasterized it so you could see the difference between the two. In Adobe Photoshop, our images live and die on the number of pixels per linear inch. So there are a couple of numbers you want to be familiar with. If you're going out to Microsoft PowerPoint, Apple Keynote, PDF documents being read on a screen, a website, then the numbers you're looking for in terms of resolution would be somewhere between 72 and 96 pixels per linear inch. That gives us quality on a monitor that goes, wow, that looks really good. But if we tried to print it, our minds would be able to resolve the pixels and it would look on paper pixelated. So if you're going out to paper, the magic number to remember in almost all cases is 300 pixels per linear inch. Now, we'll talk about later how we change all this stuff, how we make it better, how we make it worse, whatever we want to do. But if you're going out to things that deal with monitors or projection systems, PowerPoint, whatever, 72 to 96 is a pretty safe bet. 300 is more safe if you're going to print. Understand the one difference. The more bricks in the wall, the bigger the file. The more bricks in the wall outside in the real world, the heavier the wall gets. Our files get bigger. So we're doing a trade-off here in deciding on how big to make the file using a lot of different features. One of those is the resolution. Remember that. In Adobe Photoshop, images live or die, depending on what you're doing with them, by the resolution.